Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as Your Law Intellect. Happy Thursday to you all. I see you guys piling in. Thank you guys for your continuous support. Make sure you don't forget to hit the like button. You know the drill. You know the drill. Go ahead and hit that like button. So now I ain't got to say it 1,000 times, and my mods don't have to say it 1,000 times, but we going to let Dre tell you. Okay?
And another thing you notice, the first thing they say, make sure you guys hit that like and the subscribe button. That's what it's all about. After they get them dogging you out, before they dog you out, that's the first thing they say. If you like this video, make sure you hit.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Dre, so much for lending your support to this channel. I appreciate it. Today we're going to talk about this pastor, right? Is a mega church out of Texas. So I'm going to be perfectly honest. I didn't know who this man was. I didn't know who he was. Okay. I didn't know who he was. I seen a little rumbling maybe in the Christian Post when he stepped down or whatever, but that was pretty much all I knew. I grew up AME, all right? You know, when my parents separated, you know, my mom, she was at a church that was, you know, predominantly white that was here. So I did have my stint, you know, at the non-melanin churches as well. But I didn't know this guy. Like, I didn't know who he is. But Robert Preston Morris, who is 63 years old, we're going to learn about him together because I had no clue. But he's indicted. Okay, he's indicted right now for behaviors that occurred in the 80s. And what I thought was very interesting about this case is that the way he's indicted in Oklahoma, but he was he created and he actually was the founder of a mega church over in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas. But Oklahoma has this law apparently that there's no statute of limitation when you come from out of state and do something to their little kids. So Oklahoma is not playing about their kids. So he was actually indicted in Oklahoma. So I'm going to pull up an article first so we could all get familiarized ourselves. You said I grew up, Paul. We thought everybody outside our church was basically Jim Jones. Listen, I ain't in the algorithm no more, so I figured maybe I'll get some people that might be interested, you know? So I'm not just going to do it based off of what I care about. Maybe it's somebody that's just clicking through and this is a church that they watched or a church that they followed or a pastor that they followed. And so they're interested in it. So I'm trying to be more diverse. Okay. Trying to be more diverse. If I can talk about allegations that's going on back and forth with Jakes and all of that, then I could talk about whoever this guy is. All right. Thank you so much, T-Rain, for being a member for 12 months. I appreciate that. You said, okay, Oklahoma. That's what I said. I thought, Oklahoma? I don't think I've ever done a case in Oklahoma. Great, because it's unlikely he did a one and done. That girl was likely one of many, and his casual apology ain't it. Well, Abby must know about this story. So we might need you to be co-counsel on this here case because I am going off of articles and the indictment. That's all I got. You know, that's all I got. So here we go. Let's pull up one of the articles as people are piling in, because I don't plan on being here long, but who knows? We might end up talking about something totally different. So ex-Texas megachurch pastor indicted in Oklahoma on child ex abuse charges. Y'all see that? Hey, Lisa, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. A former pastor of a Texas megachurch who resigned after a woman accused him of actually abusing her in the 1980s has been indicted in Oklahoma on child sexual abuse charges, the state's attorney general office said yesterday. Robert Preston Morris has been charged with 5 counts of lewd or indecent acts with a child. The alleged abuse started in 1982. You talking about over 40 years ago. When the victim, referred to in the indictment as CC, was 12 years old, and Morris was a traveling evangelist staying in Hominy, Oklahoma with her family, according to the Attorney General's office. The abuse allegedly continued for 4 years. So what is interesting about this is, back a lot of these mega pastors, it seems like they all had similar, beginnings, of which they would travel and evangelize in different states, and there would be perhaps a home with sister mother of which you would stay there. I recall when I was younger, a lot of people that came to my mom's church, we had people that stayed with us as well. So the ones that were traveling, like it was this drama group, and they used to just travel probably the majority of the weeks out of the year. And they had a little van, and they would go from state to state. And then before they would come, they would find houses for them to stay at. Same thing as certain evangelists, when they would come, they wouldn't have them stay in hotels at those times. They would have them stay at your house. I think now more so, years later, more people are at, they got honorariums where they actually have contracts. And the contracts, because I've helped draft some of them, they'll have where they have to fly first class, or they have to be in a no less than 4-star hotel and all of that. So you don't have that. But back in the 80s and the 90s, that's exactly what they did, was they would find church members of the homes of which they would stay at. So who financed their trips? So I'm assuming wherever you would travel to would. It's like, it's not to say they didn't have honorariums. I think that it wasn't as formalized. Now, a lot of things is so business-like. So they have certain amounts or certain agreements where it's 60-40 splits, or it's very business-like. Back then, some of these evangelists, they didn't even want to get paid. They were just happy and felt like their mission or their purpose in life was to be an evangelist. And so they just wanted their stay covered and their food. That's how I was when I was younger. Okay. Of course, the church may give you a love offering in the church, in the Black church. We love the love offering. But now it's totally different. Like, you try to get one of these major or well-known preachers, prophetesses, prophets, evangelists, whatever. Now they coming with like artists. They're coming with contracts to tell you what they need and how they need it, and somebody be there to pick them up, and they like fresh flowers, and they like orange baskets and all of that. So if I was a pastor, you wouldn't come to my church. That's why I'm probably not a pastor, because I'm not doing all that. Either God gave you a word from my church or they didn't. If you have a prophetic word that's going to help the church, or you don't. I shouldn't have to. Come on. Now, I'll make sure you straight. But all of this, I need 5 red jelly beans and 5 green jelly beans. We're not doing all that. But that's the status of the church now. You know, it has definitely changed. Sam said I live in Dallas and he is sick. Oh, Miss TT said, yep, I remember the love offerings. They damn sure want to get paid. Nah, they sure do. And they will, and you know what they do if you come there? If you come there and they ain't got your honorarium, now they go on live. They like, I would just like to let the people in Atlanta know what happened today. I was prepared. I fasted for 30 days and 30 nights because I wanted to bring a powerful word of the Lord. But the person who brought me, they were so unprofessional and they didn't have everything together. And I was willing to wait until right before to get the rest of my money. But they just, I don't know. I don't know. So please don't be upset with me. I look forward to worshiping with you in the future. But as of right now, the pastor does not have my money. And because of that, I mean, I have to eat too. So just know that I love you with the love of Christ. There is nothing you can do about it. And I look forward to worshiping with you in the future. That's the speech you get when you ain't got the money. All right. That's how I go now. Now, back in the day, it was like, Doc, we going to the smorgasbord. We going to get the all you can eat buffet after church. Like, it just wasn't none of that. It was your musicians and your drummers, like your musician was sitting, the musician's son or somebody in the church was sitting next to the musician or sitting next to the drummer. And they were like basically being raised generationally to take over the music music department. So it was just a repetitive, I'm talking about the days when we had on robes. Whenever we had anniversaries, we would get our new robes every year, and you got to come in and be all hot with your fans and stuff, trying to unzip I'm talking about them days. Them days this the days, I guess, when this guy was traveling, because it's not like that anymore. Now, this man was the founder of what's considered one of the mega churches over in Texas. Okay. But we're going back to the 80s of the days where he had to sleep on somebody's cot, because the Lord had called him to go out to the nations and to feed the sheep, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. I'm talking about back then in the 80s. Okay. Well, apparently back then, there was things that were being done that was inappropriate when this man allegedly was staying with this young lady. And I'm gonna, even though I'm gonna still say allegedly, because this is a criminal case now, but this pastor or this ex-pastor or whatever we want to call him, he actually acknowledged doing things inappropriate. So the issue was, okay, he was the founder of this church and he's been doing this for some years. And apparently this lady came out about a year ago and she talked about her experience and she gave up her name and everything. So he tried to say he told the church about this or a time when he basically cheated on his wife because he was married. Let's see the picture back there in the 80s. Let's go look at what he was looking like, because they got pictures on here. Let me see. Let's find a picture of him somewhere back in the 80s. What's his name? Robert Moore. Let's see if we can find something. The New York Times, because y'all gonna want me to pay, and I'm not gonna do it. It ain't that serious for me. But they showing him with Trump and all type of stuff. Let me see. Let's see what he was looking like in the 80s. Because I know, they gonna find a picture. It's a picture somewhere. Let's see. These things have so many ads on it. That's what be messing up. my little videos, because these ads will have videos on it. So I have to be careful what I share too. Because they'll have videos and then that'll be end up being played. See, I told y'all I was gonna find one. Just give me a minute, honey. Okay, let's see. That's him. So this is Robert Morris and his wife and child in 1984. So he acknowledged in June, after Cindy Clemenshire came forward to accuse Morris of actually abusing her as a child, Morris said he engaged in inappropriate sexual behavior with the young lady in the home where I was staying, in a statement to the evangelical news site, The Christian Post. So he done basically admitted it, okay? It was kissing and petting and not intercourse, but it was wrong. 3 days later, he resigned as senior pastor, and the church's board of elders said it had not been aware of the girl's age or the length of the alleged abuse. The elders' prior understanding was that Morris's extramarital relationship, which he had discussed many times throughout his ministry, was with a young lady and not abuse of a 12-year-old child, the board said at the time. So I guess when he was telling them, oh yeah, I did step out on my wife, they were assuming it was somebody his wife's age, but it was a 12-year-old. So they're saying when he did acknowledge it, it wasn't really truthful when he acknowledged it, because he didn't say it was a child. Okay. So there's the picture. Look at those eyes. Y'all gotta start looking at these people's eyes. Look at those eyes. Young lady always takes me out, forgot to mention she was 12. And they forgot to ask too. So now you have to ask, what does young lady mean to you? After watching Netflix documentary In Plain Sight, it's no longer shocking how welcoming some people are and carefree to strangers and their children. Yeah. Because when I look back, honestly, it's by the grace of God. I ain't got no real stories. You know what I'm saying? Not, church-wise. Because we had a lot of, like, my mother was one of those people that if you didn't have a place to stay, you could stay with us. So I remember having a lady that stayed with us for like a year. Then we had another lady, and now I'm thinking about it, she was from Oklahoma. It was a Caucasian lady, and she stayed with us for like, I'm gonna say like 6 months. And then when people would travel in town, and preach at the church, they used to stay with us too. But they was all nice people from what I recall. So I can't say, but now when you look at it, when you really don't know these people, it was nothing but the grace of God, And then you know how I mean now. I was really mean then. I had like no filter. I had no boundaries. I said what I wanted to say. So it's funny now when people, like when I was little, that when I was a kid or younger in church, like at my dad's church, because y'all know he's been a pastor for years in the AME church, and they'll see me and they'll say little things like when I became a lawyer, they would be trying to say nice things like I used to have an attitude problem. They used to say, oh my God, you always were great at arguing. Because I was the person, like, I wanted to know, like, where's my offering going? You got smart with my mama. You got smart with me. You got smart with my sisters and brothers. You got smart with me. And I got in trouble a lot because of that. Like my sisters and brothers will sit back and we'll all be talking about it, but it would be like talking behind people's back. But I'll be the one to actually say it, like, nobody likes you, sister Smith. We don't like you anyway. Your mac and cheese was nasty. Like, that's really how it was. So maybe they wouldn't have talked to me no way. They was like, nah, we're going to leave her alone. But, I grown, I matured, and now I don't engage. That's why I said, I can't be petty. It's nothing but the grace of God, okay? The grace of God and a lot to lose that has kept me I'm a testimony that you can change. You don't always have to be petty. You don't always have to say everything that comes to your mind. You don't have to say that. And I know it's hard. I'm speaking to somebody right now. I'm speaking to somebody. I know it's hard. You know what I'm saying? Because you want to get back, and you know your get back is better than their get back could ever be. But, you know, sometimes you just got to say, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to let it go. But I didn't have that discipline, okay, back then. So now all the ladies that I'm nice now, you know what I'm saying? So now that I'm nice, they'll still try to bring up like when I probably got smart with them at church, or I refused to do a solo, or I didn't want to usher. Like they want to bring all that stuff up. But they want to be nice to me because most of them need my services. You know, one reason they older. They want me to read the contracts before the man get them, you know? So I'll be like, man, I know how I was. I know. I was young then. I'm not the same person. Because I think a lot of them were scared to approach me. At first, they was like, what type of lawyer is she? She probably going to go off on me if I try to get her services. But no, I'm changed. I'm changed. And you can change too. You can change too. That's your message. I don't know. Somebody needed to hear that on today. You don't have to respond to everything because they're not worth it. They're not worth it. T. Ray said, you better preach. It sound like me. I'm glad I got a witness. I'm glad I got a witness, and I am touching somebody on today. Mocha pants. But my brothers and sisters, see, after a while, though, you get tired of getting all the weapons, right? So we all talking. Y'all saying the exact same thing that I'm saying, but I'm the one getting popped in the mouth. It just wasn't fun after a while. At first, it was like, whatever, I'm a G. I'll take it. Then it was like, why my brothers and sisters still get ice cream, but I don't get none? But they were saying the same thing that I was saying. We all think the same thing. I just said it out loud. You know? So, yeah, YouTube tried to take me back there to them times, but I ain't let them. I didn't let it. I said, it's a trick of the enemy. So when all them kept putting my name and stuff, I said, this is a trick of the enemy trying to pull me back, but I won't go back. Can't go back to the way it used to be. I'm like, nah, okay, let me get to this indictment because, you know, I'll be talking to y'all all day. That was me. See, there's a testimony. Love Jones. Look at these people testifying. Not chat. Then here come Chandy talking about, I hear you, but I don't want to change. These people need to hear the truth. You can still tell the truth. You just don't have to say it. Like, you know, sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I still work on that. Like, I still have to sit there like, you guys see me do it on here all the time where I'm like, That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to think of a nicer, softer way to say it. That's why when I started the other channel, I was like, I'm just going to go over there and just let it rip and not care. You know, but it was making me revert back. So I was like, nah, I can't do that. I can't do that. Yes, Deborah, I was an usher. I used to have the bulletins. I used to hand the bullet. Good morning, Sister Brown. Good morning. Would you like a tithing envelope? Would you? And then I had my little white glove. I had my hand behind my back, and I would walk to there. And then we would look. We would we had 3 aisles. So we had somebody on the ends. We had somebody in the middle. If you was in the middle, you were like the OG usher, okay? Because you were in the middle and you got to tell everybody to stand up and when to close the doors and to go forward. We would have our hand like this. And then, you know, looking at the congregants. Then at certain times of the service, we had to look straight ahead at the pulpit. Yeah, I was a good usher. You say you just heard me say, yo. That's all I said, though, Petty Betty. I could have said everything that I was thinking about. That was growth. By just telling somebody, yo, mama, when you were talking about me, that was growth. I was showing you where I had growth. Ian Payne said, I too was an usher, junior and senior usher board. All right, you better show your credentials. Let them know your credentials. They had usher board Sunday where they put on their own, they put on their own programs and stuff. Usher board number 4 and usher board number 3, usher board number 5. See, that was the good days. Now it's just like you go in church, you got celebrity gospel artists that's doing praise and worship. You got smoke. You got colors. Now, I do appreciate the teleprompters with the words. You know what I'm saying? But I still like pulling up an old school hymnal. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just, let me see if I an old school song. Sometimes it's the old school songs that is like, it just brings you there. So I like miss it sometimes. I'm gonna be honest. I'm miss it. I may not know. There are some places said I don't go, but I am sure of this one thing. My God is real, for I can feel Him in my soul. Can I say it one more time? Can I say it one more time? There are some things. I think I got some witnesses in here that I may not know. Some stuff you don't know. There are some places I just don't go. And for some of y'all, I don't go no more. But I am sure, hey, of this one thing. Yeah, my God is real, for I can feel Him in my soul. Come on now. Whoa, yes, God is real. Real in my soul. Yes, God is real. And made me His love for me. Gotta do that too, class. All right, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Gonna turn this into a church service. Okay. All right, y'all. His love for me. And that organ, Dev can play the organ like that. He be making that organ go to Zion. Do you hear me? That's right, Aunt Nettie. All right, y'all. So that was the longest intro ever to get to this indictment because I ain't know this man. So let's pull up this indictment now that the Holy Ghost came into the building. But I was just saying, I kind of miss the old school. I really do. Now, did they need to be some changes? Absolutely, because you do have to remember that church was the slavery gateway. And the way we learn, and the slave masters did use the Bible as an excuse for the type of slavery that they were, trying to engage, even though it was a different type of slavery that they didn't even talk about in the Bible, because you talking about in the Bible where you got paid and you can be free. And this is a way for you to pay your debt. This is kind of how we slaves to our bills and slaves to, you know, our student loans and all of that. It was just a different form in the Bible, but they were using it for that purpose. And I believe now a lot of pastors take on that same mantle of those slave masters, because that's what they learned, and they put it on the congregation. So it was like, you do what the pastor wants you to do. So they would have adjutants, or they would have women that was cooking for them and taking their clothes to the dry cleaner, and things that I never really understood. So do I think it was it needed to be some type of reformation on that? Absolutely. But I still miss the spirit of it all. Now it's like you go in and it's just a big production and it's too much. You got pastors that are known just as much as your quote celebrity like Beyonce. Totally different era. And I miss that. I miss those type of songs where you can feel it. When we were younger, we probably didn't even know what they was talking about. But now you older, you like it hits different. The hymns hit different. It helped our people get over when they were on the cotton field. It's always had a place to help us get through. And so now when you got to add the mixing and the click tracks, and you got to have a full blend, and y'all got to rehearse 50 times, because we used to get the CDs from like Kurt Franklin, or who else am I thinking? Who was like the choir? Mississippi Mass Choir. We would get those type of CDs, and we would have to learn them at home. Like, we would have to learn them at home. You might write it down a little bit. We would have our little rehearsals, or they'd play it, play the little tape while you at rehearsal. And I really miss those days, because I think now, because of the prompters, people don't even try to learn the songs. They think they can stand up there on that day, and it just ain't no power. And I think, especially with the status of this world, we need that power, and they don't have it. They just don't have it in these churches. They don't. Thank you so much. It's the Rocks for the super chat. Thank you. Said my ties, I felt that shift. Sometimes that's what you need. Granny the Great said, here's my offering for the service. Amen. Thank you, Granny the Great, for always supporting. Thank you guys for the super chat. But yeah, sometimes you got to throw the little old school in there, because it's just not, praise and worship is cool. It's times that, tears come down my eyes because of the songs and whatnot. But sometimes it's just, you just need that grit. You need them drums. You need that organ. And then you really, for some reason, you felt the words. It wasn't just you heard them, you felt the words, the way they were written. Because a lot of times those songs were written out of pain, and they weren't written for royalties. They were literally written like, this is what I'm going through. I know God is real. So no matter what I'm going through, I may not understand. There's things I don't know, because his ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. But I know at the end of the day, he's real. And you singing yourself through that, singing can get you through some things. The way these songs are now, it's like you don't know whether to twerk. You don't know whether to hit the Dougie. You don't know what to do. You're like, okay, because it's about catching. It's about popularity. We're in a generation where they have their ideas of God, and they've created. They have a cultural God, a God that is for their culture and what they believe. And that's why you don't see the healings you saw. That's why you don't see the miracles you've seen. That's why you don't see that, because of that. But anyway, the soloists want to be stars now. Absolutely, it's a performance. It's a performance. So anyway, it's full participation. You can't get full participation from Yeah, you're right. The AME church I belong to is no longer authentic to me. Yeah, they've had to shift too. The AME church, because it was organized, there were a lot of things I did not like about it. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. They had lawsuits that I was talking about. Shoot, I was like, whatever. I was happy when my dad got to retirement age, because I felt like it was a lot of dictate. Because I'm a PK of it, I see not just the service, but I see the treatment of my father. I see the treatment of other pastors. You don't do what they want you to do. They demote you and send you to a whole nother state. You got to move your family. You got to move, uproot because they pissed at you, or you don't come up with the budgets that they want you to have and turn it over. They try to censure you like how they did Al Green in Congress. So in these organizations, they have their own bylaws, rules, and regulations. They have their own judiciary branches, and they don't have checks and balances for real. That's what made it so scary about the Trump administration coming in the Eric Adams situation, because at least in our government, we have a checks and balances. We're supposed to all be separate. But when you go to these organizations, you do what you need to do in order to be a part of these organizations. And so a lot of people were mistreated. A lot of people don't have money to retire. A lot of these pastors are still pastoring because they have to. They need to eat. They don't make sure that they got a retirement. They don't make sure that they have I'm not going to say they don't have a retirement. They don't have enough to be retiring now. That's not their priority. Once you are no longer usable, then a lot of times they get a younger version and they move on. And I watched it time and time again. So although I am, I was raised AME and I enjoy service, and some of my best friends to this day came from the church. I've seen my father pour his life into that. And again, move from spot to spot and do what they needed him to do and all of that. And it's like, so I personally had a problem with it. I was very, very, my dad stayed way longer than I had wanted him to, honestly. I was like, when they say they gonna give you this church, we about to. I remember one time, and I hope my dad don't get mad, but whatever. I'm talking now. When he was about, one of the times when he was about to get, because what they do is they give you an appointment to a church, and we knew he was going to basically get an appointment that was way lower, because he's been in the game for so many years. He started young, so he's been doing it for 40-something years. And so when they were upset about something, and I guess they planned on demoting, like going to a lesser church, I was like, me and Dad was standing there like, you ain't got to take it. We going to all come in there. When they say they giving you this church, we just going to say, here, you can keep your church. Like, that's how. But when this is what you're called to do, this is all he felt like this is his calling. And so regardless, he was willing to take some of the unfairness and, in my opinion, disrespect, because he was following what his purpose was, and so I have to always commend him for that. I still be mad, and I give my opinion and whatnot, but at the end of the day, this is what he said. This is literally his heart. This is who he is. When you have people like, why I say a lot of people don't understand for real about love is because when you say God is love, we try to compartmentalize it in a way that we understand. But God is more than just a characteristic of love. That's his substance. So that's who he is. So you do get some people that their substance is what this is, and that is spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that's what I can say. My dad, why he was so adamant in just the politics. He was frustrated, but he was willing to take what those politics were, because he just felt like he needed to do what thus saith the Lord. So for me, I'm like, shoot, forget that. I'm like, you can get on YouTube. You can talk to a whole lot of people. Shoot, that's how I was thinking. But anyway, I see a generous super chat. Thank you, Mrs. C60. I appreciate you. Say you are telling the truth. Thank you so much. This is so kind of you. I appreciate it. And T-Rain, you said you better tell us, sis. Thank you so much again for the super chat, child. We done went all the way to the left and we ain't talked about what we came on here for. Now I feel funny putting the doggone nasty indictment up here. True. Like Thomas Dorsey wrote, from a tragedy in his life and his songs will resonate. Yeah, like what's the name of that? Is it How Great Thou Art? Was that the one you're talking about? Is it How Great Thou Art? One of those where they were on a ship or something. Oh, It Is Well. It Is Well. You guys look up the history of how It Is Well was written. It was a man who literally lost his entire family. And he still was saying, it is well with my soul. And so when he writes those lyrics, if you listen to it, you have to know the state that he was in when he wrote it. Yeah. There's nothing wrong talking about church. We got to praise and worship. Thank you, Eric Dykes. I appreciate that. Real Time said, my grandfather and father were deeply tied to the AME church, so I know what you mean. It's something, okay? Again, now that the times have changed, I don't think they have. Now you can literally go online and get certified. Just pay. They'll be like, pay $500. We'll make you an apostle. Pay $1,000, you'll be a bishop. Y'all know, you know how they do. You know a prime example. Well, all you gotta do.
You's a clown. That's what you. Why don't you call me a cardboard bishop now? You tough? Call me a cardboard bishop now.
He's not gonna call you that.
Huh? Look on Facebook Live. Call me a cardboard bishop now. You clown. That's what you are. You clown. That's what you are. Why don't you say what you say on Facebook Live, sucker?
No.
My point is, the bar is very low now. Like my dad at the AME church, you had to have a degree. Like I'm not talking about honorary. They have degrees from universities. You couldn't even get a church if you did not have a university or a college degree. So there were standards and it was hard. You had competition. You had to, put the time in, be associate pastors and all of that back then. You worked to get where you are. Now it's like, who can bring in the money? Because the money isn't the same. People are more, quote, woke. They were taking naps, apparently. So they're woke and they're like, we don't really have to give if we don't really want to. This scripture, the math ain't mathing with this scripture. People aren't like as committed and loyal as they were back then. So now you have to get people in that you think can transform and bring in money and bring in young people and bring in people with professions so that you can keep the church going. It's totally different. So they don't have the same standards that they had before. They're willing to lower. They're willing to lower them. And you got all these people making up denominations. It was for the Black church. You had certain denominations and organizations that you were trying to be in. AME, Kojic, United Methodist was more mixed. You had Southern Baptist. You had a lot of, organizations that you had to go through their trainings. You had to go through seminary. Now you don't have to. You can literally just wake up and be like, I think I want to be a preacher today. And then you can go online, you can go online like Whitehead did and put your Cash App up there. Times are totally different. So where does that leave the older generation that actually poured in and put in the time? Because they don't have, like, they were raised in a different generation. So I was an usher and I also sung in the choir. Those were great moments of growing up in West Virginia. Second Baptist Church, Coretta. Come on, West Virginia, Second Baptist Church. I hear you, Maxine Flax. Yes, those were good times. And again, we had retreats. We had different things with kids. I remember we used to have lock-ins. A lot of our friends came from church. But again, it was a lot of shenanigans that would happen too. Now, I ain't trying to say it was just all rosy. And then you had some of those churches like the young lady. Our church wasn't like that. The AME church was not like that. But it was some churches where if you, quote, sinned or got pregnant, you had to go to the front of the church and all them shenanigans that they had. None of that is biblical. But, it's control. And people don't know the difference. But I always say a lot of that stuff came from the slave master. They had to find a way to control the black people, and they used the Bible. So why wouldn't the black people do the same thing? When they finally were able to get into leadership positions, they started taking on some of the same personalities and directives as their master. And they never even understood that they were just re-injuring the same people that tried to get out of that in the first place. So there's that. Yes, Vacation Bible School. I think I saw a sign for Vacation Bible School last summer. I was like, wait, what? Yeah, we had to go to, if you were coming to my house, that's why my friends ain't want to come in the summertime, because you knew we were going to Vacation Bible School. As soon as summertime came, about the second week, we were going to Vacation Bible School. Bring your Rice Krispie treats, bring your little candy bag and your little juice boxes for the rest of the class, because you were going to Vacation Bible School if you were coming to my house. One thing you was gonna know is the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You were gonna learn some scriptures in Vacation Bible School, but yeah, those were the good times. Those were the good times. My church still has this. I think it's important. Patty said we still do. Yeah, Mrs. C, girl, I'm remain quiet over there. I can talk about church scandal. Yes. Okay, so let's pull up this thing, because child, we done add about 100 more people on here, and we ain't talked about what we came on here for, and it's been an hour. So this is the indictment. It was filed in Oklahoma, and let's see. And so there are 5 counts of lewd or indecent acts to a child, and it's again Robert Preston Morris, and again these is for alleged behaviors that happened in the 80s, but as we read in the article, he basically has admitted it. So I don't really know. Does he plan on pleading or whatever? So I'm gonna go down to the counts because they go into all of this 1885 language. Let me read this little 1885 language they got in Oklahoma. In the name and by the authority of the state of Oklahoma, by the order of the Supreme Court of Oklahoma, the 21st Multi-County Grand Jury was convened with its principal site to be in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma County, Oklahoma, to serve from December 16, 2024 for 18 months or until the designated presiding judge determines the 21st Multi-County Grand Jury has reached reasonable completion of its investigations, but in any event, no more than 24 months from the commencement of this term. That said, Multi-County Grand Jury of the state of Oklahoma, being composed of good and lawful men and women, legally drawn and summoned according to law, and then in there examined and paneled, sworn, and charged according to law to diligently inquire into and true presentment make all of public offenses against the state of Oklahoma committed and triable within the state of Oklahoma upon their oath and in the name and by the authority of the state of Oklahoma do present and find. I feel like I should put on a George Washington wig, because this is what this sounds like. What are we saying? What exactly are we saying? Like I should just go put on the white wig with the curls? Put the tight bow tie thing up here or something? What? Okay. Lewd or count 1, on or about December 25th. So on Christmas of 1982, the crime of lewd or indecent acts to a child was feloniously committed in Osage County, state of Oklahoma by Robert Preston Morris, who did intentionally and designedly touch or feel with his hand the body or private parts, including the breast and vaginal area of CC. Well, we know who that is because she came out and told her story. And that her date of birth was on January 25th. Oh, wow. 1970. Who was 12 years old at that time in a lewd or lascivious manner, contrary to the provisions of Section 1123 of Title 21 of the Oklahoma Statutes and against the peace and dignity of the state of Oklahoma. Count 2. On or about December 27th, so this is the 25th of 82. On or about December 27th of 82, the crime of lewd or indecent acts to a child was feloniously committed in Osage County, state of Oklahoma, by Robert Preston Morris, and did intentionally and designedly look upon the body or private parts, including the breast and vaginal area of Cece, who was 12 years old at the time, in a lewd and lascivious manner, after removing her clothing and exposing those areas of her body to his view, contrary to the provisions of Section 1123 of Title 21 of the Oklahoma Statute and against the peace and dignity of the state of Oklahoma. Count 3, lewd or indecent acts to a child. This was on or about January 15th of 83 and January 24th of 83. The crime of lewd or indecent acts to a child was feloniously committed in Osage County, state of Oklahoma, by Robert Morris, who did intentionally and designedly touch or feel with his hand the body and private parts, including the breast and vaginal area of Cece, who was 12 years old at the time, in a lewd and lascivious manner, contrary to the provisions of Section 1123 of Title 21 of the Oklahoma Statutes and against the peace and dignity of the state of Oklahoma. Count 4, lewd or indecent acts to a child on or about or between January 25th of 83, which is her birthday, and January 24th of 85. Whoa. So this is 2 years that they're saying, from 83 to 85. The crime of lewd or indecent acts to a child was feloniously committed in Osage County, state of Oklahoma, by Robert Morris, who did intentionally and designedly touch or feel with his hand the body and private parts, including the breast and vaginal area of Cece, who was 13 to 14 years old at the time, while parked in a vehicle on a road known as Red Eagle Road in a lewd or lascivious manner, contrary to the provisions of Section 1123 of Title 21 of the Oklahoma Statutes and against the peace and dignity of the state of Oklahoma. I know her daddy is on fire. The way my daddy would have pulled out the longest GUN in the closet. You gonna take my child out in a car and do it on red and try to oh Lord Jesus, allegedly on Red Eagle Road, and I let you stay in my house because you was too broke with your wife and your child, because you couldn't afford to be in the house by yourself because you was stomping for Jesus. And this what you do when I let you lay your head in my house? He is blessed beyond measures that he just got indicted. Because my God today, Jesus. Yes, this is what I did here. Didn't this man receive some type of in-house church forgiveness or something? Yes, but once it got out that she was saying she was 12, I think they're trying to say they never knew the age. We don't know the truth or not. This is the problem with the business of church, because this was a mega church that he founded. It was huge, probably was financially providing for a whole lot of families. There were probably it was probably a lot at stake to just let him go, right? And he was the founder. People came to see him. So sometimes they'll put in situations like this. Well, that was back in the 80s. We'll get through this storm, but we ain't trying to like shake up the whole church and end up, the business aspect of it. I think her parents met with him back then about this. Did they? I'm gonna have to pull that story up because I vaguely remember. That sounds vaguely familiar. I'll pull it up and try to figure out. But let's get through this because this just kind of irritated me. So from on her birthday in 83 through the next day after her birthday in 85, they're saying that's where count 4 came from. Count 5, lewd or indecent acts to a child on or about between January 25th of 83 and 85. So they're saying it was a total of 2 years. The crime of lewd or indecent acts to a child was feloniously committed in Osage County, state of Oklahoma, by Robert Preston Morrison, who did intentionally and designedly touch or feel the body and private parts of CC, who was 13 to 14 years old at the time, by removing her clothing and rubbing her body, including his private parts, covered by his clothing against her body, including her leg, while parked in a vehicle on a road known as Red Eagle Road in a lewd or lascivious manner, contrary to the provisions of Section 1123 of Title 21 of the Oklahoma Statutes, and against the peace and dignity of the state of Oklahoma. Let me see what this is like. I know that's probably in the Christian Post. Robert Morris. Let's see. Oh, he was in some other stuff. They talked something about ties. They in something with. So June 15th of 2024. Let's see. Let's pull this up. You've been following this for years, BN. Well, would you like to be co-counsel and let us know? Because anything we missed, because I haven't been following it all. Let me see. Okay, so this is Pastor. See, I hate this, man. Hit me up later, Christian Post. Maybe I'll subscribe. Pastor Robert Morris confesses to moral failure after woman claims he began molesting her at age 12. Robert Morris, founding pastor of Gateway Church in South Lake, Texas, which attracts an estimated 100,000 worshipers weekly, has confessed to, quote, inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady more than 35 years ago while he was a young pastor, after a woman accused him of actually abusing her over multiple years, beginning when she was 12. Quote, when I was in my early 20s, I was involved in inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady in a home where I was staying. It was kissing and petting and not intercourse, but it was wrong. This behavior happened on several occasions over the next few years, end quote. So you just admitted it. Morris said in a statement to the Christian Post after Gateway Church was asked about the allegations. In March of 87, this situation was brought to light and it was confessed and repented of. I submitted myself to the elders of Shady Grove Church and the young lady's father. So you're right. They asked me to step out of ministry and receive counseling and freedom ministry, which I did. Since that time, I have walked in purity and accountability in the area, Morris added. So he went in 87 and he confessed and repented at Shady Grove Church and the young lady's father. The young lady's father must have been saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost, because just go repent and sin no more. Well, that's God's love for us. That's why I said the love that he has for us, we will never understand, because the substance of him is love. Everything about God is love. But us as humans, we got limitations, okay? We be having limitations, so it's hard to fathom. But maybe the father obviously, I guess, was walking in love. Forgiveness. You said the dad is sitting on the right hand of God. Ooh, geesh. South Lake is a very rich area. There are also satellite churches throughout Dallas. Okay, let's continue reading. So he explained that he returned to ministry in March of 89, 2 years after his abuse was exposed, with the blessing of the survivor's father and the elders of his church. He further noted that he and his wife met with the survivor and her family in October of 89. I asked their forgiveness and they graciously forgave me. Morris said, didn't a family or something come back and say it wasn't true? It's coming up. It's coming back to my memory. Morris's accuser, Cindy, first told the Wartburg Watch that he began actually abusing her on December 25th of 82 and continued with the abuse for 4.5 years after that. When contacted by CP on Saturday, the 54-year-old grandmother confirmed the details in the report, but insisted she was no, quote, young lady when Morris began abusing her. I'm, of course, just appalled, she told CP on Saturday about his description of her as a young lady. I was 12 years old and I was a little girl, a very innocent little girl. And he was brought into our home, he and his wife Debbie and their little boy Josh, and trusted and preached at the church that my dad helped start, and then began grooming all of us to do this. Ooh. So there's more people? Allegedly? Which took me decades to wrap my brain around as an adult, she said. It went on for many years. He says there was no actual intercourse, but he did touch every part of my body and inserted his fingers into me, which I understand now is considered a form of RAPE by instrumentation. That is true. I don't know if it's like that in Oklahoma, but yeah, it is like that in most states. I was an innocent 12-year-old little girl who knew nothing about actual behavior. Clemenshire said in her report to the Wartburg Watch that she and her family first met Morris at a youth revival in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1981 when he was a 20-year-old traveling evangelist. At the time, he was married to his wife, Debbie, and they had their son, Josh. She said Morris began preaching at her church regularly on Sunday after he was invited to do a youth revival in her hometown of Hominy, Oklahoma. Her family and the Morrises quickly became friends. They were invited into their home and often went on trips together. On that fateful Christmas night of 1982, Clemshire said the safety of the relationship with Morris and his family ended for her when they visited her home. The Morris family came to visit and spent some time there. Cindy sat in the back seat of the car with Robert. He asked her to visit him in his room that night. She shared a room with her sister. Cindy, an innocent 12-year-old girl, movingly described what she was wearing. She was wearing pink pajamas with bloomer pants. She wore underwear underneath. She had a snap-up robe on, the Wartburg Watch said. She thought nothing of visiting a family friend in their bedroom. He told her to lie down on her back and touched her stomach. He told her to close her eyes, then he told her breast and felt under her panties. He warned her, never tell anyone about this because it will ruin everything, the report noted. Clemshire claims Morris repeatedly abused her in Texas and Oklahoma and often told his wife that he was merely counseling her during the abuse. Oh, Jesus Christ. When she turned 16, Clemshire said Morris would take her out in his car and try to have actual intercourse. By this time, Morris was a pastor at Shady Grove Church, which would eventually become Gateway Church, Grand Prairie campus, the report said. Clemshire eventually confided what was happening to her to a close friend who encouraged her to tell her family. When her father found out, he told the lead pastor at Shady Grove Church that if Morris didn't get out of ministry, he would get the police involved. That threat forced Morris to step away for 2 years. So her father said, if you don't leave, or told the lead pastor that if he didn't get out of the ministry, he would get the police. So he gave him an ultimatum. Morris would return to Hominy with his wife. They told Clemshire's father that he wanted to return to ministry. And at that point, her father washed his hands of Morris and no longer interacted with him, the Wartburg Watch said. Her daddy was saved. The survivor made it clear to CP that Morris did not get her father's blessing to return to ministry. Okay, yeah, I remember this article. My father never ever gave his blessing on Robert returning to ministry. Wait a minute, let me see how she said it. What? My father never gave his blessing on Robert returning to ministry. My father told him he's lucky he didn't kill him. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Now, that sounds a little bit more plausible. I am mortified that he is telling the world my dad gave his blessings. Of course we forgive because we are called to biblically forgive those who sin against us. But that does not mean he is supposed to go on without repercussions, she said. Wow. Clemshire explained that she retained an attorney in 2005 to file a civil lawsuit, but Morris's attorney suggested she caused the abuse on herself because she was flirtatious. No, he didn't. He ain't just blind. He didn't do that. She was flirtatious at 12. She said she asked for $50,000 to cover the cost of her counseling stemming from the abuse. She said they offered her $25,000 if she signed a non-disclosure agreement, but she refused. For years, she explained to CP, she has been warning churches and pastors who would listen to her story about Morris because she doesn't believe she's the only one who suffered this abuse. She also argued that he shouldn't be serving in ministry and should step down. I don't think he ever should have been allowed to be in the ministry. We would never allow someone to go teach in school, work in a daycare, or be a doctor. If anybody had done these things, and I have a very difficult time believing I'm the only one, Clemshire said. Elders at Gateway Church told CP in a statement that Morris was transparent with them about his past, and they believe he has been biblically restored to ministry. So that was their first statement until probably the public outcry and people probably want to leave that church. Pastor Robert has been open and forthright about a moral failure he had over 35 years ago when he was in his 20s and prior to him starting Gateway Church. He has shared publicly from the pulpit the proper biblical steps he took in his lengthy restoration process, they said. The 2-year restoration process was closely administered by the elders at Shady Grove Church and included him stepping out of the ministry during that period while receiving professional counseling and freedom ministry counseling, they said. Since the resolution of this 35-year-old matter, there have been no other moral failures. Pastor Robert has walked in purity, and he has placed accountability measures and people in his life. The matter has been properly disclosed to church leadership. So then they have a correction. An earlier version of this article published on June 15th of 2024 quoted the Wartburg Watchers stating that televangelist James Robinson accompanied Morris and his wife to Hominy, Oklahoma to speak with Clemshire's father. The Wartburg Watch has corrected its report to clarify that Robinson did not join the couple on that trip. They was like, nah, don't put me in it. They was like, how we get into it? That's what James Robinson probably sent that cease and desist. So they had to correct it. They said it to clarify that Robinson did not join the couple on that trip, nor did he participate in any meeting Morris had with his victims and her family. He also did not know that Morris had actually assaulted Clemshire. He said, don't put me in it. So at first, it sounds like the church obviously was trying to say, it's all good. But then when it probably got some traction where people were reporting it like on YouTube, then they had to bring it back and be like, well, we didn't know she was 12. He's going to have to leave here now. Deanne Matthews said there is no biblical restoration process for a fallen pastor. None. That whole church is in rebellion against God, and that is why those who think like him have been turned over to a reprobate mind. Okay. All right, Deanne Matthews. I hear you, sis. I hear you. Deanne says she is one brave woman. She said this some years ago. She was going to churches he ministered to, telling them, I think she spoke to women who said it was done to them, but they were afraid to speak. Deanne said it's idolatry. They worship the pastor and not God. They are engaged in idolatry, and they all are going to have to pay. What is this? Okay. This is from Kiana, 1976. Mold can only grow in environments, all caps, that are made conducive to its growth. The church needs to stop making environments that are conducive to the growth of the filthy, dirty behavior. You better preach. That sounds like a sermon title. Do you have mode? What is your environment? God is not in your environment. Sounds like a title. Somebody gonna steal that. Some pastor gonna watch this. They about to steal that. Okay. Her father was protecting his position, not his daughter. Okay, Ben. Yeah, because he was like the father. Yeah, he basically said he can't be in the same situation. What I can say, I'm gonna try to, I always go both sides. What I can say with the father is he did not act out of emotion. Perhaps he felt like if he had done what, we believe we probably all would have probably responded as fathers. If he would have done that, like how I think now about what will I lose? I have more to lose. And at that point, if to know that your daughter went through that, wouldn't you want to be out, at least not in shackles and chains, to be able to support her emotionally and to be able to support her progress? You're not going to be able to do that in prison. Although it probably would have made her feel better. I think she probably would have been like, yeah, that's my daddy. That's my daddy. They mess around and be bunkies or something, because he definitely would have went to jail, because he would have said it was a crime of passion, whatever he did. You know what I'm saying? But then he wouldn't have been able to hurt nobody else. So, I could see both sides. I could totally see both sides. But I think he was and see, this is part of too, biblically. Yes, we teach forgiveness, but I think we teach forgiveness in a way and in the context where we become doormats. That is not biblical. To let people walk all over you, just like the Black woman, it's like endure everything. Hold everybody together. Then you wonder why we got mental health problems or why we got all these other issues. And then it's like, pray it away. Isn't it better to please God? Like Jesus wasn't no punk. So I don't like that's how, but all of that is to honestly indoctrinate you so that you can follow some of these people. And if you don't know, the thing about preachers, how they mess up is, if you teach tithing and offering and sowing and alms and you do it in a proper fashion, I'm not going to have to beg you for money because you already know what it is. Nobody has to beg me to give my money. If I get an unction to give my money, I don't even care if it's somebody randomly on here. People that have come to me because they couldn't pay something or whatnot. I'm going to do it. And I don't do it to get anything back, but I know what the principle is and I know what the promise is. And, the only limitation that God has is the one that he's placed on himself, and that's that he cannot lie. So if the Bible says, or God has said that you do this is going to happen, this is the precondition to, this is the condition precedent to this, then it's going to happen. But see, the pastors think they got to manipulate you. And then once you realize you've been manipulated, you like, I ain't giving you $1. Then I'm sitting up here, I'm giving you my rent money, which ain't biblical. I'm giving you my rent money and you pulling up in Rolls Royces. You pulling up in, I pull up in your house and I got to go around the driveway like this. And they got the big gate. You know what I'm saying? But I'm sitting up here struggling. And see, this generation is a different generation. So they're not going for that. They're going to protect their mamas. They're not going to let their mamas get their Social Security checks anymore. So now you got to come with the gimmicks. And you got to come with the big show on Sunday. And that's what the problem. If I can come in a place and it's a storefront, but the power is there and I know that I'm going to be different and better than when I left and it's going to sustain me through the week, I'm there. I don't need all of that. But if you properly teach, this is the problem with people not having to go to school for it, not having to really study, not having to really spend the time with God. Now you get these randoms that just are good in dialect and they can articulate well and they're charismatic. And now they got the sauce. And so their whole being is a gimmick, and they make you feel good and they tickle your ear, but you don't really learn anything. So anyway, thank you so much, Name Changed, for gifting the memberships. I appreciate that. I think you did that the last one as well. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Emily said, you are teaching today, sister. I really wasn't trying to. I was just trying to come on here and tell you what was going on with this man I hadn't even really heard of. I heard of him, but I guess I didn't really follow it like that because I read the article. I don't know if it was on here that I read it, but I feel like I read that article before. And yeah, because I recall the father, her saying the father did not give his blessing and all of that. All of that stuff started ringing a bell when I was reading it. So Mary Williams said, my bishop always say to us, do not give your bill money, and if you don't want to give it all, don't. That's it. But now they got to manipulate you and tell you gonna be broke. You need to give $1,000. You don't give $1,000, you hit. God is gonna. You're not giving to the man of God. No. I told you I had a couple situations where I embarrassed some people. Don't do it. Do not call me out until, because people will know what my profession is. And then based on that, they like, oh, she got a couple of dollars. I got a prophetic word for you. You should never come to the prophet without a gift. Well, child, keep your word then, because I can talk to him for myself. All right. But what you're not going to do is try to manipulate me, because unfortunate for you, I actually read the word for myself. So there's that. So that's it. You said study to show yourself approved. It prevents being a victim of predators and false teachers. Yes. That's why it says write the words on your heart. Because there's going to come times in your life. I've had times in my life where I didn't want to pray. I'm not going to lie to you. I was tired of people telling me, sis, I'm going to pray for you. And it literally was me reading the scriptures that I read all these years that started speaking to me and kind of going circular in my mind. Like it just kept revisiting certain scriptures would just come, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. It was just coming. And it was just like, but I didn't have the strength. I didn't have the strength to say, and I would get pissed off when people was like, sis, I'm praying for you. I'll be like, don't call me and talk about you praying for me. Like, don't even, like, that's just the place I was in. Don't act like y'all ain't never been there when you don't want to hear nothing they talking about. You just like, life is really lifing, and this ain't what it is. And so you get reminded because of what you've read. And so if you are a person that don't read it for yourself and you waiting on Sunday morning for the pastor, you good for that Sunday. But the battle happens Monday through Saturday and you're not prepared. So that's the problem with a whole lot of people. That's it. He will bring it to remembrance. And sometimes you got to bring it to remembrance to him. Look, you said that you'll never leave me and forsake me. You said that I will never go without. You said by your stripes I am healed. You got to bring it to go. You said you can. How you know what the promise is if you ain't never read about it? How you know? How you know when you get into situations how you got to remind, not like he really be forgetting, but it says put you in remembrance. You learn, listen, me, your child down here, remember you said you was going to give it to me, pressed down, shaking together and running over, and it's going to come out of men's bosoms. Yeah, me, I'm going to need that pressed down, shaking together because the bills are due. You know what I'm saying? That's it. He said it won't return back void. That's what he said. And I told you. The only limitations that God has put on himself, because he has no limitations. And the only limitations is the ones he put on himself, and that he cannot lie. So that means everything that was promised, you can have. And but people don't know that. So you going in here and you got to have all these people that's telling you what you want to hear, how you want to hear it, and which way you want to hear it. And it's just not reality. It's not reality. That's it. All right, y'all. Let me get up out of here because you know I could talk about this forever. But that's what happened with the ex-pastor. Thank you guys so much for coming in and supporting me as you always do. And you know, putting up with my shenanigans. I done played the old school songs. I done threw a little scripture out there. I done went through the indictment, and y'all was here for all the shenanigans. So I appreciate that. I really, really do appreciate that you guys support me, the authentic me, in all aspects outside of just the law and just who I am. So for that, I am forever grateful. And if you enjoyed the commentary, even if it was just a small portion of it, if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you were on the fence, you know, if you were lukewarm, like these lukewarm Christians, if you were lukewarm, then I'm going to need you to commit, okay? Can't be on the fence. So I want you to subscribe to the channel. And if something else happens, I'll be back. Either out here or I'll be posting as I always do in the membership. Got new information on Eric Adams in the membership. I have all the Sean Diddy Combs updates in the membership. And I know they just random. I'll just put them in there. And if they say, Pam, I need you to break this down, then I'll do a video on the membership to break it down. For the most part, I just like to try to post. And so I do have some new postings in there and try to keep everybody updated on what is going on all of the cases, because everything does not need a video. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Y'all so kind. He is not a man that he can lie. That's right. Yes, I agree. I agree with all of this. Yes, and a prayer for her, because this is probably hard. This means that she's going to have to relive this and testify because she is the witness. You know, she's the victim. So she is going to have to sit there and hear him say things like she was flirtatious, which I can't imagine a jury. Or he may just plead. To me, it sounds like he admitted he didn't go into details like that. So some of the he did admit some inappropriate behavior. So maybe he'll try to get the best deal possible. And she just wants him to get accountability. So maybe she'll be happy if he has to do some time, because while he moved on with his life, how hard was it for her to watch him consistently elevate and grow and get one of the biggest churches in the Dallas area? And she's probably, we don't know how it affected her. Did it affect her in relationships? Did it affect her where she don't want to be with anybody anymore? Does it affect her, you know, with kids? Does it affect, like, we don't know. She was clearly, this was not okay for her. And because she was, I'm not saying like it was ever okay, but clearly this was something that was nagging and following her. She was going from church to church to warn people. She's been carrying this thing for decades, carrying this thing like the woman with the issue. And this may be her touching the hem of his garment moment, because this may help her feel like he didn't just move on and have a family, live a great life, have a lot of money, have one of the largest churches with no consequences, all because it's happened in Oklahoma that don't have a statute of limitation for things such as this. Thank you, Emily, for the Cash App. I appreciate the support of the channel. So this may be her, you know, this may be what it is to bring, I hate to say closure, but bring some type of because she had to go through therapy all these years. He talking about it took him 2 years. She's been dealing with this for years. He said 2 years. He was restored. Hallelujah, I'm restored. And he moved on and there were no more repercussions. So now in 2025, God has let her know, I have not forgotten you. This has got to be a lesson, even though it seems you would never see the day of which vindication will come. God still said, I have not forgotten you. In 2025, even though in most states the statute of limitation would have expired, they have a way to overcome the statute of limitation. My God. See what I'm saying? Thank you, Adrienne, for the Cash App. I appreciate that. And again, he is innocent until proven guilty. We don't really know the details except what she said, but he has acknowledged engaging in inappropriate behavior according to the Christian Post, and we just read that. So that portion of it is what it is. The actual facts that led to it, I have no clue. Obviously, we weren't there. But if you guys, when you calling people's name out, and we don't know this young lady, but maybe I shouldn't use that term because he was saying young lady, but we don't know this lady. And so, but she can use all the strength that we can give her. So when you're calling out names, make sure you call her name out. So, yes, Deb, your wife is doing some teaching today. And I wasn't even trying to. Granny the Great, thank you so much again for the super chat and all your report. I'm out of here for real, y'all. I'm really out of here for real. I know this got a bit deeper than I was expecting it to get, but I thank you guys for rocking with your girl, and I'm going to talk to you next time.